In this video, we're going to be talking about what you need to be doing after you finished your live stream. Hey, welcome to the Church Media Guys show. And if you're wanting to learn how to leverage and make the best use out of the media and technology that's sitting around you so that you can take the gospel to the world, then you can start now by clicking subscribe and ringing the bell for the notifications, ba-ding, ba-ding, that little thing. So it'll tell you when we're doing stuff like this right here, the Church Media Guys show. I've got something. I was snooping around the internet, and I found something that I just have to share with you. Look what I got. It's Justin.
What's going on, guys? I'm here. I'm back. If you've been out of the loop, as I have, my family, myself, everyone's just been sick for the last 2 weeks, on and off, getting each other re-sick. It's just been a nightmare. So finally we're pretty much back to, I was feeling 100%. And then I got on the Skype call with Dave, and I'm down to about 95%. So I'm going down. So we got to get this show started before I get back to zero and I'm knocked out again. But I am very glad to be here and very glad to see Jordan, Pete, Chris, Eddie, all you guys in the chat. Very happy to have you guys. And I'm ready to get back into things. It's been a nice vacation. But yeah,
Why you've been hacking up lungs and stuff like that.
Let's get going again. I feel bad because I'm still posting in the Media Hacks group, and then I just don't get to reply as much or spend as much time in there because I'm like falling asleep already. So I fell asleep before the live stream, and I woke up and I was like, "Oh man, let's go!"
Oh.
My body's still.
Do you have the kissing disease?
No.
Okay.
Mono? No.
Yeah.
They did think maybe Jill had it because of her symptoms, but
who's she been kissing? she's too little.
No, it was just a crazy flu-like virus. It wasn't the flu, but it was something like it.
Yeah.
So it was.
I'm glad you're almost back to normal. It'd be great when you're at 100%. Hey, by the way, guys, if y'all are watching this and haven't joined our Church Media Hacks group, then you need to do that. Go to churchmediahacks.com. Oh, you know what? I just realized I got a notification about that domain. I better make sure that domain's there. that domain is still active. I think it still is. churchmediahacks.com. If not, just go to Facebook and search for Church Media Hacks, and we'll let you in the group. If you're cool, and if you're not cool, then you can try and we'll see what happens. No, actually, we talk about all kinds of cool stuff over there. We share good information, we share ideas, we share what's working, what's not working, and we basically tap on each other's shoulders and say, hey, can you help me figure this out? And it's a pretty good group. It's growing by a couple of hundred a week now, Justin. Since you've been gone, mysteriously, it's just,
yeah, people are coming in. They're like, hey, this guy's out of here. Let's get in while we can.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, so today we're going to be talking about the workflow or what you should be doing. I've been saying for years, Justin, and I know you have heard me say this a bunch, that the kind of when we're in church production, when we're sorry about that. When we're doing everything during our week, we always seem to be focused on the event that happens on Sunday. We kind of get everything geared towards making something happen on Sunday. And that's what you're supposed to do. You got to make sure everything's prepped and ready and all that, of course. But for us in church media or for the live streamers, for the social media team, for the photographers even, our job kind of starts when we start the live stream. When we turn on the soundboard, when we boot up the TriCaster or whatever, that's kind of the beginning for us. And the first thing that we're doing is we're broadcasting that stream. We're creating that live event for people to partake remotely, right? But a lot of us think that that's kind of it when we're done. In fact, I have people, I routinely see this question. We're live streaming. Should we be recording it? Almost like the live stream is the only thing you're doing. You're not recording it. Mm-hmm. And I tell people,
or yeah, it's recorded on Facebook and YouTube, so it's there.
Yeah, it's there, but it's not in a readily usable form. You end up on Facebook and YouTube. You end up needing to trim it if you're going to get something usable out of it. It's I always say that those are your backups. If something were to go wrong, then you've always got those backups you can go back to. But I tell everybody, yes, you need to be recording it. And you need to have a local copy of it on the hard drive or on a backup hard drive or something in case everything gets all wonka-jawed. You still have this really great series that your pastor just finished doing, But the question is, what do you do after that? One of the questions we get tons of times a week, I'm talking, 15, 20 times when people are joining the Church Media Hacks group, is they want to know how to create content for social media, how to engage on social media, how to just get more views, get more people taking in the content that they're creating, and then they want to know what content to create. It seems like a really common conundrum that people have to do. And I want to tell you, your live stream is a perfect source for, a ton of content. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, 100%. I view it as something that's just kind of come to mind as you're talking, and I'm like, I've seen this all before. Where have I seen this? Oh yeah, I'm in Houston, and I'm a baseball fan. I follow the Houston Astros. Yes, get all your boos out of the way. No one likes the Astros right now. But I follow them on Facebook, and I actually set their posts to appear first, so I basically see every Facebook post that comes out of the Astros ball club. So what I've noticed is they're kind of in the same setup as far as social media as we are. Everything surrounds that big event of the game that's happening.
Right.
And then if there's an off day, and there's not many off days in baseball, but when there's an off day, they're showing highlights of the game. They're showing interviews after the game. They're showing clips of the game. They're showing recaps of the game in picture form or in text form. They're showing graphics from the game, maybe something funny that happened. Alvarez hit a ball and it hit the screen, and so they're doing memes of the broken screen, or replays of Alvarez hitting that home run that broke the jumbotron. It all comes past that. And it's as you're describing this, it's almost like, man, he's basically describing the social media team of our favorite baseball teams. They're doing the exact same thing. So yeah, it's not just around the live event. There's not just, hey, buy your tickets. Hey, come to the game. Hey, buy a hot dog. Hey, look at everyone, so excited for the game. And then the game happens, and then it's like, okay, well, let's go on to the next game. Let's get ready. And then there's nothing until the next game. That's not how it works on social media for the baseball team, or any sports team, I'm sure, is going to have the same strategy as we're talking about right now. You would get bored with that. There's nothing to do. There's no behind the scenes. There's no background. There's no learning about your favorite players or ministry leaders or volunteers, or it's boring. It just becomes a pitch to come out to the ball game, and no one would follow that channel. So if you're just kind of like, watch our sermon next week, watch our sermon next week, watch our sermon, it's like, well, this church obviously just has church, and that's it. They just care about who's on stage, and that's it.
Right.
And that's not the case. So yeah, it absolutely, I don't know if I rabbit trailed or not, or if that made any sense.
No,
but yeah, it's not all around the live event. You can take that live event and you can create more content out of that. I'm sure in the ball club social media team, they have a checklist of, all right, any home run, we're going to clip that.
Sure.
And we're going to post it on social media. Any interviews, post it on social. Anything funny that Orbit, the mascot, does, clip that. Even if it didn't make the live stream, clip that, because we have we have recordings of all the cameras everywhere.
Right.
And we're going to put that on live stream. Put that on social media, put that somewhere, to be seen. 100% they have a checklist like that, and we're going to give you something similar of how to use your live stream not as the end goal, but as the starting point to develop something more and dig deeper into what your church is about and impact people's lives beyond just listen to this 40-minute sermon.
So what the ball club and what they're doing, Justin, is basically continuing a conversation that they started when the game happened. So everybody that's sitting in the stands, everybody that is watching at home, they're having this. They've begun this relationship with this event. They've begun a conversation basically with the team, and they're just continuing that conversation until Tuesday's game, or they're continuing it for a couple of weeks if it's something that's just absolutely magnanimous, like a gigantic, like 2 grand slams in a row or something. They're going to share that 6 ways from Sunday.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to do, because our pastors start a conversation with us. They especially if you're going through a series, this makes a whole lot of sense, because you're talking about, segment 1 of the series this Sunday, and then next week will be segment 2 and segment 3, etc. And when you step back from it, it's basically like chapters in a book. So when you start that conversation, if you don't continue that conversation, then you kind of lose ground, right? So we're going to talk about, hang on, wrong button. There it is. Live streaming publishing plan for 2020. A couple of, did it go through? I'm waiting for it to catch up. Uh-oh. Hang on a sec, guys. Hang on a sec. It messed up.
We need like technical difficulties paper to hold up.
Let's see if it'll do it.
Yeah, it popped up on the live stream.
It did, yeah, but it ended up. I had to bring it back from a. Went into a standby. So anyway, here's some of our goals. We want to get more views on our live stream or on the replay of the live stream. We want to get more interaction on social platforms, which is something that people are always asking about. We want to be able to encourage folks and give them thoughtful content, and we want to stay engaged with our viewers, the people, the congregation. So the very first thing that you obviously are going to do is you're going to stream it live. So let's take a look at the platforms. If I want to say this because it flies in the face of conventional wisdom. There are a lot of streaming platforms out there. Really good ones. There are, these dedicated, broadcast media level platforms that people can have, and they put it on their website, and it's got a beautiful player, and everything's wonderful, and it just, your website becomes a media hub, and it's wonderful and all that. That is all great. I have no problems with that. However, one of the things that I look at when we're talking about doing something like that is that if people aren't watching, doesn't matter how beautiful your theater is, doesn't matter how plush the chairs are. If no one's coming to your theater to watch movies, then you're just wasting time. So in this case, if you've got a fantastic player and no one knows, nobody, I don't know anybody that routinely wakes up on a Sunday morning and thinks, I've got to go to BillandTed'sExcellentChurch.com and watch the live stream. Now, there are people that do that, and that are, they work third shift or something, and they get home and they don't have time, they can't go to church or something, so they know to go to their church's website and do that. However, it's not discoverable. By and large, it's not discoverable. And you're going to have a very limited audience there and a limited reach there. So I tell people, and a lot of people ask, should we be streaming on YouTube? Absolutely, you should be streaming on YouTube. It's a gigantic search engine. It's a gigantic platform. That would be like saying, like asking the question, hey, Time Warner or Spectrum or something like that has these free channels, and if I sign up with an account and become a subscriber to Spectrum, I get channel 211 on the thing. Should I put videos on the cable network? Yeah? Why wouldn't you? So when we talk about our platforms, you should be streaming to YouTube and Facebook. Facebook at a minimum, I say do both. There are pro platforms that are out there. There's Boxcast, Vimeo, Daycast, Sunday Streams. One kind of a hybrid is the Church Online platform. One of the things that's cool about that is it doesn't cost you anything. They've got a great player, and basically you tell it what the player is going to play. So you can say, hey, the YouTube live stream. There you go. Or you could say my Sunday streams or my Daycast or my Boxcast stream or something like that. Which going with something like that, and we'll do a tutorial on how to set it up. But going with something like that actually gives you kind of the best of both worlds. You get a nice player that you can put on your website. You've got a chat that you can kind of keep going, that's going to use the chat from the other, from like from say YouTube, and but you get a prettier experience. If you don't use that, you still can do that with YouTube. You can embed the chat. You can put all that in there, and you can also customize. There's some little hacks that you can do to customize to make sure that the what's next video doesn't show up. That's like customized to the person who's watching it. Justin, you watch a lot of baseball. So, and you search YouTube for a lot of baseball clips and all that. So when the sermon's over, next up for you may be, Altuve's, home runs from, last season, whereas my mother's may be, I don't know, something else, a Downton Abbey clip or something,
Yeah, I'm impressed you remembered a player's name. That's impressive.
I actually like the Astros. They've done more than the Rangers have.
Yeah.
They actually got through the World Series. Oh, won. Oh, and did it again. So, where was I going with that? You threw me off.
Up next.
Yes, the up next. So you can actually turn that stuff off and kind of sterilize on your website, on your church's website a little bit, sterilize that player. Or you can use something like Sunday Stream. Not Sunday Streams, the, what do you call it? Church Online platform. Anyway, now, where'd it go? There we go. Now, after the live, we've got several things that we can do with all this. I tell people to, like with the Facebook one, if you're streaming your entire sermon or the entire service, I think on Facebook, we need to, after the fact, go and trim that to like just the actual sermon time. That's going to give you more long-term usage of that clip. And Justin, on a previous show, we were talking with Adam, and we were talking about clipping sermons and doing all that sort of stuff. And we talked about the need to build that content library on the various platforms, both your Facebook and your YouTube platform. Doing this will let you not have to duplicate by uploading it to Facebook, uploading just the sermon, that 30-minute or 40-minute sermon to Facebook. It's already there. So you just kind of trim it, give it a thumbnail, and go catalog it. So now you have something that you can jump back to, or people can come back and reference down the road if they want to. The reality is on Facebook, you're not going to get a whole lot of repeat traffic on a 45-minute video, at least not now. No telling what's going to happen in time. I say it's best to have it there, even if no one's gonna look at it for a while. That maybe, Facebook, what is it? Facebook Watch, maybe that takes off someday, and next thing you know, you've got a ready-made channel. I don't know.
In my experience, what people are doing, just from talking to people, the data doesn't show it like this, but what you're going to get a lot of is people will come in on a Sunday and be like, yeah, I checked out the sermon on Facebook. And, oh, really? You watched the whole sermon? No, I just kind of jumped in just to see, can I understand the pastor?
Yeah.
Does he use big words, or can I understand, what he's saying? So you have the 40-minute sermon. They're probably going to jump and just listen to a couple of segments of it just to get a feel of it. But you'll make it even easier. You'll make that, I guess, moot with kind of what we're going to talk about next.
Right.
But that's having that there will give the people to replay it, scrolling through Facebook. Oh, I didn't watch this. Let me put this on while I, put my makeup on, or that's what my wife would say, not me. Although you probably make this mug better. Or, while I'm in the shower, I'll put it on my Bluetooth speaker or something like that. So people may listen to it that way, but for your visitors, especially, they're going to jump around. They're going to want to see okay, maybe they see the clip, but they would say, this is just a clip, a highlight, if you will. Let me see the whole thing and see if I can understand who this guy is, or jump to a point and see how it is, if it's worth coming, or is this my main filter is this preacher crazy?
Right.
Then I'm not going to visit that church. So that's my benefit. And what I talk to, the people that I talk to, how they use the full sermon on Facebook is just kind of just to see and test the waters a little bit.
Sure. It is good having that, having the whole thing there, for that archive, in case YouTube goes away. Well, hey, we got Facebook, And it also gives you the ability that if somebody's not there, or if you have a friend that is going through something, you know what? Our pastor was talking about that the other day. You could go and grab the link to that and share it directly to them on the platform natively. There's a lot of benefits, but I would say trim it, and trimming it gets it into a more usable piece for somebody. They don't have to sift through 20 minutes of praise and worship. They do that with their Spotify account. So just kind of keep that in mind. And then you also want to edit out the sermon from the recording that you've done, okay? And you want to upload it to YouTube, and then you also want to do an audio podcast. For those, I would make just a couple of quick tips. I would treat it like everyone treats a YouTube video. And how a lot of podcasts now are using this formula, basically, where you have a hook, and then you may have a short intro, and then you get into the actual piece of content. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be talking this, that, and the other. Boom, and then the thing runs. What I do is I take a thought from the pastor, maybe something that almost sounds controversial, and I'm not talking about something that's really controversial. He said something a couple of weeks ago. He said, "My job as a Christian is not to be your pastor. My job is to bring people to Christ." And so that's saying that my job as a Christian is not to be your pastor, as he's standing up there being the pastor. You know what I'm saying? That sort of a thing kind of makes people go, "Wait, what? What did he just say?" But that tickles their fancy, and gets them into the next 30 seconds of the video, which is a short intro and then gets into the meat. So that production value just makes you look a little bit more better, cleaner, more professional, more like we know what we're doing. You follow?
Yeah, 100%. It can get kind of boring when it's just you press play and it's like, all right, guys, thank you all for being here. It's good to see you.
Or a 5-minute countdown.
I just flew in last night and my arms are tired. So let's open up our Bible and go to John 4. Would you please stand as we read? I'm already mentally checked out.
Exactly.
But if you started off with that, like, my job is not to be your pastor. And it's like, whoa, what? Isn't that his job? I will get through that intro.
Exactly.
All right,
and then immediately,
and I'm like,
boom, hi.
I'm like, okay, tell me, what's he talking about? So yeah, absolutely. And the hook, I mean, if your pastor is comfortable with this, I would do two things. Number one, the pastor I'm working with a fantastic client that's working 8 weeks out on his sermons, and he knows exactly what every week is going to be by the time I do the graphics package for him 8 weeks ahead. I would sit down with him and I would say, hey, can you give me a quick teaser? Let's just bang them all out right now because you know exactly what's happening these 8 weeks. And then he just sits down for 20 minutes with you and just records them. And now you've got that, hey, this is Pastor Joe. Today we're talking about, being a Christian first and being a leader second. What does that mean? And how does that affect you? Because you may be, being a family member first and then a ministry volunteer second. Right. And maybe your ministry is hurting your family. That's what we're talking about today. And then, welcome to the Bill and Ted's Excellent Church podcast, and whatever it is going to be. Or if your pastor is comfortable with this, you can do it. And if you're comfortable with it too, you can give it. You don't have to introduce yourself. You just say, hey, welcome to the Bill and Ted's Excellent Church podcast. Today, Pastor Joe's going to share a brief word with us about how ministry could possibly be impacting your family. Mm-hmm. It's really good stuff whether you're listening on the road. And if you have any questions, please email us at info@billandtedschurch.com. Let's get to it. And then you go right into the sermon or you play a little intro. Like, you don't have to introduce yourself. Hey, my name is the church media volunteer guy. And I'm just doing this because Pastor Joe's not. No, you don't have to do that. Just, welcome. Or if you got a volunteer, you got a younger person with more energy, that's fine too. Use them and have them come in. And it becomes an issue if you have to do it every week. But if you can knock them out in chunks, that's a huge thing. So, yeah, absolutely, 100% with that teaser. Again, listen to your own favorite podcast. How do they do an introduction? Model it off after them. Try it for a season. You don't have to say this is forever.
No,
try it for a couple months.
And if you listen to talk radio, if you listen to like the Word FM or whatever, where you hear Ravi Zachariah and all the other different well-known, nationally known pastors, their shows. I mean, they've actually made a show called Inside the Word with Dr. Ravi Zachariah. I mean, they do stuff like that where they're making a show. So do that with your podcast. It will, even though it's the same thing, it's a new flavor of the same thing, and it gives people a little bit more uniqueness that the podcast. And you can actually take, if you want, you could take the podcast like the radio shows do. You got a 45-minute podcast. You can actually break it into 2 chunks. Yeah, you've got part 1 and part 2, and release them, one on Monday and then one on Wednesday. You've got some flexibility with that. Anyway, the long and the short of it is you're already making content and releasing that content based on the live show that just happened a couple of days ago. Also, I want you to edit out special things like the baptisms or the baptism service. Take those, and if you have 10 baptisms, you may want to just do the baptism service, and then publish that to the Facebook page. If you've got 2 or 3, you may want to do that. Do those 2 or 3 as a single service, but then also cut out the individual clips like that, and then email them to the people who got baptized, or tag them and make sure it's global so that they can actually put it on their feed, on their page, things like that. Just kind of keep that in mind. But again, you've got something that people can engage with. You've got some people sitting out there. They may not have been there Sunday, and they've been praying for this guy, and this guy got saved, and now here he is getting baptized, and they missed the baptism, and so now the church can celebrate with them, even though the church wasn't all there on Sunday morning. So little things like that. Again, it's another touch point for you. Social 100%. Clips. Go ahead.
I was going to say 100%. I was just agreeing with you.
Social clips. Yeah, so we said that. Make the videos of the baptisms and the service. And also, I want you to take 1 or 2 clips from the sermon. And I kind of target between 1 and 2 minutes in length. A lot of people get really concerned about the length. Well, it's got to be 2 minutes. It's got to be 1 minute and 30 seconds. It's got to be 3 minutes. That's not important. What you don't want it to do is feel long. So if you have a 3-minute clip, and you can trim it and kind of make it punchy as you trim it, and get it to where it's 2 minutes and 45 seconds, but it feels a whole lot faster than that, that's great. If the point is made in 15 seconds, great. If the point is made in 1.5 minutes, great. If the point is made in 4 minutes, but it doesn't feel like it's 4 minutes, again, great. But your pastor will have different, he may have an illustration. He may have, some sort of a story or something. It could be a funny story that they kick off with, something like that is great. And then a really deep message, a poignant clip from somewhere deep inside the sermon would be great. And now you've got 2 pieces of content that you can release, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. And here you now have 4 days that you've put stuff out. You've uploaded to YouTube on Monday. Tuesday you release the podcast. Wednesday you've got 1 clip out on Facebook that's linking to the YouTube video, and Thursday you've got another one. I mean, you've already got half the stuff you need to do that week taken care of, all being done while you're basically editing the video, to go up to YouTube. That's where you're able to grab all that sort of stuff. You follow?
Yeah, absolutely. And just from a practical point too, man, there are some Sundays, like especially if you've got a very academic pastor and you're just like, man, none of this works. Like, there's 40 minutes in here and I can't understand any of it. Mm-hmm. And I can't pull a 2-minute clip because he's so long-winded and everything takes 6 minutes to get to a point. You're gonna have Sundays like that.
Absolutely.
Or like one time there was like a great clip where the pastor walked off stage to say it, and there was no light on him, and it's like, I can't.
No
use
audio.
This. There's no light here, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You don't have to clip it that week. You don't have to do 2 clips, an illustration, and a deep point every week. 4 videos. That's 4 days out of the week. That's perfect. You probably don't have that time unless you're on staff full time. So it's okay. Just if you want to grab 1 clip a week, start there. And then once you get good at it, once you get faster, that first clip's probably going to take you a couple hours. Once you get faster, and once you kind of template your own work and you kind of save as, and then you just replace the clip, you get a little bit faster, then you can go to 2. And maybe it's an illustration one week and a deep point the next. And then maybe it's a clip about a family story. Maybe it's just sharing an interesting historical fact about something that happened in the Bible. You don't have to be so exact every week. It could be a funny story. One time one of our best performing videos at my last church was just celebrating. It was like, hey, it's the pastor's wife's birthday, and they put a sombrero on her, and we sang happy birthday. Like, people really liked that. That was the only clip that week, I think, that I put out. But people really enjoyed it and shared it and said happy birthday, pastor's wife. And it was like a moment there that was so weird, because I just had nothing from the sermon to use. So I said, well, let's just put this up there, kind of like out of frustration. And I was like, let's just, and hey, it's kind of good too. So it ended up doing really well. So it doesn't have to be the same click. Some weeks you're going to have a great poignant 2-minute clip. The next week you're going to be like, is this going to be good? I don't know. Let's put it up. And it doesn't do good. Or oftentimes I put up a testimonial from a woman, and I thought, man, this is not gonna be great, but it ended up being one of our best performing videos, and it was like 7 minutes long.
Yeah.
And people watched all of it. They loved her. And so you'll surprise yourself. So you gotta, don't stay too rigid, and don't be upset if it takes 6 minutes to make a point. Try it. See if, again, check the data. If people like it, if people watch it, do more of it. If you put up a great clip and you realize, okay, people really don't care about historical fact illustrations, don't do those again. Look for something else. It's all about trial and error and trying it for a season. Okay. Don't just do it 1 week and say, no one watched it, this doesn't work. Do it for a month, do it for 2 months, and see, play around with it a little bit, and this is kind of where, Church Training Academy Insider Program, we can help you look at that and bounce ideas off and give you ideas of, this is working and this isn't. So really, don't get too frustrated if you don't have those minute clips or illustration stories every week. That's just unrealistic. You're not going to have that unless Andy Stanley's your pastor.
Right.
You're going to have some struggles there, and that's okay. Your pastor is maybe a better pastor than a preacher. That's okay. You're going to spend more time focusing on his pastoral role than his preaching role. That's okay. But do what you can, because if you get these social clips down, again, even if it's 1 in 5 take off, that's huge. That's way better than what just your live stream is doing.
Yes. Yeah. And by the way, when we're talking about doing these clips, if you're unsure about how to do these or how to do these clips most effectively, we've got a couple of videos that we'll put links to. One of them, I show you how to do it, regardless of the video editor that you're using. I just basically show you the principle of how to do it, how to make it square, how to make sure that, even though it's square, it still takes up the whole screen. Even though it's a horizontal video, it still takes up the whole screen, that sort of thing. And then also, if you use Adobe Premiere, they've got a function in there, a tool in there that automatically reframes based on what's going on the screen. And I show you how to use that as well. So I got 2 videos that are good resources for you for doing that. So we've been talking about doing the clips, the video clips and all that. Let's go even more basic than that. And let's talk about the photography, or something that would work really good on Instagram besides a video. And that's like pulling some quotes or something. Quotes from the sermon, a statement, a thought, a quote, something really poignant. You can use a picture to illustrate it. You could get a picture of the pastor preaching. There's churches, in fact, we were talking with one of them in the Hacks group here a couple weeks back. They said one of the things that they do is they have someone kind of go and get kind of close to where the pastor is and snap off 2 or 3 shots of him while he's preaching, and just get an action shot. He could be standing there holding out his Bible. He could be pointing. He could be hands up or something. Just some sort of an in the moment shot of the pastor, and then you could take that and crop it properly, and then put the little quote right next to him. Justin, my pastor, and I, he grabbed 2 or 3 changes of clothes, and we went into the auditorium on a Tuesday, and I was able to turn the lights down exactly the way I wanted them. I was able to get the spotlights exactly the way I wanted. I was able to do some reverse shots where it's kind of a dark room, and the light is coming over him and causing a little bit of a was it a lens flare on him, but it's as if he was preaching and I had the freedom to walk around on the stage and just shoot everything, kind of like the big churches do. So you can mock up stuff like that and just kind of have some of those things, kind of cocked and loaded, ready to be used, because you may not have a really great sermon clip like Justin was talking about, but maybe just one little quote was really good. Or if your pastor has said really brilliant things over time and you've just collected them in lieu of the kind of desert of good content from this week's sermon, and they're not always going to be, batting 1,000 each week. You can still have something to stick in its place. Now let's talk about social platforms and where you need to be putting all this stuff. Obviously, you need to be on Facebook, and you need to use Facebook, the page feed, like for your church's page. You definitely need to be using groups, and you definitely need to be using stories. So organic reach across the board on all of these platforms has really gone down over the years. The more people that get on it, the more people are demanding to see things, the more targeted their viewing becomes, and if they're not engaging with something, then chances are they're not going to be seeing it. That's why you kind of have to hit the various platforms, and you have to hit various ways on that platform. So your church's Facebook page, Justin, we see it with Church Training Academy. We've got however many likes we have, but when we publish something on there, some people see it if they have gone and interacted with it, like on the page. They may be more apt to see it, but we actually see more people interacting when we're publishing things in the groups. And groups are what Facebook is really focusing on and trying to drive people to, is the groups that are around a certain topic, like your church, or the men's Bible study at your church, and the women's Bible study at your church, and the youth group at your church. So, Seth was talking about, our friend Seth Muse was talking about when he was setting up for his church, he set up dozens and dozens of groups for the various ministries and all that. Well, you can put these things where they may apply. Could be just the one that's the general one for the church, not the page, but the group. But then if it's about family, then you also share it to the family ministry group. They may see it there and not see it in the other.
Yep.
Okay, that was good. Good feedback there, Justin. And you definitely want to use
47%, Dave.
Yeah, sorry. You definitely want to use stories as well. Stories is kind of it's a new concept to a whole lot. Once you wrap your brain around it, it can be really powerful and a great way to engage daily or semi-daily or bi-daily or whatever. And you can create these things and then let your worship pastor have these so that they can share them on their story. And then the family pastor can share it on the church's page story. You've got some flexibility there. And basically that same idea goes with Instagram. With Instagram, you've got your Instagram feed, you've got stories, and you've got IGTV. And what's really cool about IGTV is if you share upload a video that is more than a minute, then it will allow you to finish it in IGTV. So, you got a 5-minute clip, and the first minute of it shows in the feed, and it says to continue watching, click here, and click there, and it kicks over to IGTV. Then when they're on IGTV, they can see other things that may be related to that. It's an algorithm just like on Facebook, or maybe other things from your IGTV channel. So be thinking about that. And you can do it with, you can make video from your still images as well. With meme text and stuff like that, you've got a whole bunch of flexibility there, and stories as well. And the stories go away, and what 24 hours?
Yeah,
on both, right? Facebook and Instagram. So even if it's not perfect, even if you mess it up, even if you're stumbling, whether you're doing a video or the image was not the image that you want or something, tomorrow it doesn't matter. Just do another one. And Justin, did you know that YouTube has a community tab on your channel? Did you know that?
I know of it.
Yeah. So it's something that I'm wanting us to make more use of with our channel. But your YouTube channel has a community tab, and I don't remember if there's a certain threshold for like subscribers or videos or views or something like that before it's turned on. Be looking for it though. Think of it as Facebook for YouTube. I'm getting ready to sneeze. Say something, Justin.
So so what this is going to do is it's going to provide you with some synergy and the over maximum capacity of that, to which you can then communicate to. I'm just throwing out random words here. I have not experimented too much with the YouTube community tab.
What's cool?
Because I haven't been there. Dave runs the YouTube, and I just have a small piddly little channel myself. So I say that, but and only I can say that.
Well, when people,
I just haven't gotten to experiment with, but I'm excited to hear about kind of the different potential that you could have there as yet another way to communicate with your people.
Well, we talk about how YouTube has its own ecosystem and its own. There are people that are native YouTube, and there's people that are native Facebook, right?
Yep.
And there are people like you and I who fluidly jump back and forth between them. But there are people that really don't like being on Facebook. They don't like all the junk or good or bad or whatever, and they just do stuff on YouTube. So they have their notifications set up. If they have their notifications set up a certain way, then when you post, even if you don't put a video in your channel, if you don't upload a new video or live stream or something, but you put a GIF or anything that you could or would put on Facebook, if you
a GIF,
anyway, if you put a jar of Jif peanut butter on your community tab, then they're going to get notified, and then they will be able to go and interact with it just like they would the feed on Facebook. They can leave comments. They can, you can do polls. It's actually a great place to promote your video. So if you release a video on Monday, then on Tuesday you go get a clip from your video and put it into the community tab, and now the next day they're getting another notification about it. Then you can link to it and stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff that can happen.
Are these the posts that I'm seeing in my subscriptions box? Because when I go to YouTube and go to subscriptions, it's not just the brand new videos. It's a post, like a picture or a GIF. Or this is what's showing up there in my subscription feed.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, a poll. All kinds of great stuff. It's just another touch point to build that community. And we have to remember that, we hear grumblings a lot. I don't want to be on Facebook. I don't like Facebook. It's just a hum. Okay, well, I mean, you got to remember that's where people are. So if you care about the gospel and you want to interact with people, then you need to go where they are, which means you don't shy away from going and ordering a club soda at the bar at Chili's because that's a bar. There's people at a bar. I can't go talk to someone. But you may actually be able to strike up a conversation with somebody and, God forbid, lead them to Christ. So it's the same thing with these other platforms. Whether you understand them or not, try to understand them and try to connect with people in there, because it's a fantastic ministry opportunity. And even if it's not a direct, come ye sinners type of ministry opportunity, it's just another touch point, another way to touch someone's life and hopefully be a good influence on them. Let's see. Oh, Justin, we talk about email a lot. That's another thing that folks need to do with these clips, is make them a part of the emails that you're sending from the church, whether you're doing dailies or weeklies or whatever. One thing I would do, though, most churches are sending out like a weekly newsletter email. There's a lot of that. And we actually, didn't we do a video a few months back where we talked about how to do it right versus how to do it wrong? We'll put a link to that. Justin's got great insights on that. I would maybe not put a link to a sermon clip or the image or something like that in the newsletter one. I may do it in a separate one, just so that it is another touch point throughout the week. If you're like me, the only time I ever really, me personally, as someone who's like part of the staff, actually goes to my newsletter, the church's newsletter, is if I'm looking for information that I need for an announcement video that I'm making. They for me, they just kind of pass on through, and I don't always see them in my email list. However, if I'm getting 2 or 3 from our church, or one from the church and one from the pastor and one from the family pastor, then I may get those. I may see those. They may stand out just a little bit more. So it's something to think about. You can put a quote pick in your newsletter, especially if you're hurting for content that week for it. But I think being able to touch them through email 2 or 3 times throughout the week versus just that one may be more effective. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. You don't want it to be. To me, it's kind of the same as we used to do our announcements at the end of service, because it's like, oh yeah, we do this sermon. We want them to know what's coming up in the week at the end of service, and then they leave. We had an interim pastor come in and was like, why are y'all doing these announcements? Like, I'm having this poignant moment of the sermon, and I want them to leave with the sermon at heart. And then you're making jokes in the announcement video and stuff, and it kind of ruins the mood that I want them to leave on. So we move the announcements out of the way of the sermon. So to me, it's kind of like that. You want to embed a sermon clip, a real poignant, deep thought or something, illustration that can really impact someone's heart. You're going to embed it inside of 5 bullet point potluck instructions in between that and, kids T-ball sign up. Like, that doesn't make sense. You're kind of burying the lead there, literally. So yeah, use that as a separate email. Introduce the clip if you're doing the clip, and have it be from the pastor, and let him expound upon it more. Maybe he made this point, but there's another couple sentences that he could say on it. Let him do that. Hey, watch this clip, and then I want to clarify something real quick, and then he can type that out in 20 seconds, and then hit send or send it to you to send. So
right.
100%, it should be its own email. It should stand out on its own, and you can again introduce it better with the subject line as well of the email, so it's not just buried inside of this week's announcements at Hope Baptist Church. And if you're Hope Baptist, no offense, I don't know who you are, but it could stand out on its own. Like, what did Pastor Craig say about ministry interfering with your families? I keep going back to that example. It's a good example. Or is your ministry interfering with your family? Or something like that can really get people to open up and actually pay attention.
Yeah, and it gives another point of touch throughout the week. Justin and I both know the value of sending email multiple times a week to your email list. Your interaction goes up the more you're doing that you increase the chance that one of them will be seen and that they'll interact with it in one way or the other. Those rules, those tips, those tactics and stuff work perfect for a church just as much as they do for a dry cleaner. So this is a great kind of a no-brainer way. You're making the content. Now look, I've got 2 pieces. It's gone up to Facebook, but then I'm also emailing it out 2 days later. So basically, the rule is continue the conversation throughout the week. And let me caution you, because if you're waiting for perfection, it's not coming. You just need to start doing this. And that is a mantra that I finally articulated down to, a couple of sentences. And we've been saying it basically for, since the beginning. Get started. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry. I don't have all my ducks in a row for doing this and stuff. Dude, can you upload something to Instagram? Okay. Get a picture. Make it colorful. Get a color thing. On Facebook, have y'all seen where you put in like 2 or 3 lines and you got the opportunity to like expand the little color thing and either choose a color background for it or a cool looking picture or, a pile of poop or whatever it is. They've got some of that stuff right there for it. So do that at the absolute minimum. Grab a quote, byline it from your pastor and put it on the pink background and it'll stand out in the feed. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get going and then see what's working and then try to make it better and be creative. And like I said, a lot of this stuff, Justin, can be done that Monday morning if that's your where you start with getting the trimming up the sermon and getting it uploaded to YouTube and getting the podcast out. Another 20 minutes as you kind of scrub through and grab a couple of quotes or whatever. You can handle 90% of this stuff very quickly within the first couple of hours of your day on Monday or on Tuesday or whatever that time that you've allotted for these tasks. It doesn't have to be a big, huge, drawn out thing. You're already there, so just do it. And to go back to we'll put a link to the conversation with Adam about making these clips. If you are the one that's in charge of doing the live stream, you could do like I do. I grab a piece of paper and I sit down and I just, as we're going, when he gets to the next slide, which is point number 1, point number 2, point number 3. I will mark down the recording time on there so I have a rough idea of where one of these points are. If he says something really poignant, I'll just kind of look at the thing and go, okay, 1832, point about the importance of family versus ministry. And I know to go around that time once I've trimmed it and stuff, somewhere in that 18 to 20, there's a clip that, something important that he said, and I can narrow it down really quick and then pull it out. So it doesn't have to be a huge, long, drawn-out thing. Got any final thoughts?
I think I like to just backpack on that. Augustine in the chat said, just start and learn along the way.
Yeah.
Like that's really good. Don't feel like you have to have all the. We've been playing a lot of board games because we've just been sick and haven't been able to do much the last couple of weeks. And a lot of the games, you just have to start and kind of learn along the way. You can't sit there and read 5 pages of instructions and expect to retain all that and then go and play the game.
Exactly.
Especially with the more complicated games. You just have to start and kind of learn along the way, make some mistakes, and that's okay. And at the end, you've played a game and you've had fun. It's the same way here. Augustine said it even too. Jesus started and his disciples learned as they went. Mm-hmm. Just get started. Start with one thing today, one checkbox, and just do that. And then as you get a hang of that, add a second one. And eventually you're going to do a lot more in 4 hours in 2 months from now than you would in an entire week tomorrow. So just get started and learn along the way. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's why Church Media Hacks is here. That's why CTA Insiders is here to help you improve along those mistakes. Yeah, don't be afraid to do that, and don't wait to know all the rules before you start playing. Just start playing and have fun, and you'll be surprised how far you can miss the mark, and God still uses that to make an impact in someone's life.
And we've got some resources that we've got listed below for you. So the videos that we've referenced and the Hacks group and all that sort of stuff, we've got links in the description right there. So just click on those. And Justin and I love you, and we'll see you in the next video.